Picture this. A massive crystalline chamber floating somewhere in the Andromeda Galaxy, filled with the most enlightened beings the universe has to offer. We're talking about the Galactic Council, folks. Think of it as the cosmic equivalent of a homeowners association, except instead of arguing about lawn heights, they're deciding which entire species get to continue existing. At the center of this intellectual powerhouse stands High Chancellor Blexen, a 7-foot-tall purple creature who looks like someone crossed an octopus with a motivational speaker. His tentacles wave dramatically as he addresses the assembled delegates, because apparently, even in space, politicians can't resist theatrical gestures. Esteemed colleagues, Blexen announces, his voice echoing through the chamber with all the gravitas of someone about to solve world hunger, we face an unprecedented crisis. The species known as humans have achieved interstellar communication. A collective gasp ripples through the assembly. Oh, the horror. Humans learn to send emails across solar systems. Delegate Vorthak, who resembles a crystalline praying mantis with anger management issues, clicks his mandibles nervously. Surely, High Chancellor, this cannot be as dire as our projections suggest. I'm afraid it is worse, Blexen replies, pulling up a holographic display that shows Earth. Our long-range sociological scans reveal a species of such chaotic unpredictability that they actually, brace yourselves, they actually seem to enjoy conflict. More gasps. Someone in the back row faints, which is impressive considering they don't have a circulatory system. They engage in recreational combat, Blexen continues, warming to his theme. They intentionally create competitions where individuals attempt to physically dominate one another for no purpose other than entertainment. They call these sports. The word sports hangs in the air like a cosmic curse. Delegate Zephyria, a floating blob of sentient gas who's been around since the last galactic epoch, vibrates with concern. High Chancellor, surely we're overreacting. Every species has their quirks. The Zentorians collect belly button lint as currency, and we've learned to live with that. This is different, Blexen insists, his tentacles now gesturing so wildly he looks like he's conducting an invisible orchestra during an earthquake. Humans don't just fight each other. They fight their environment. They fight their weather. They fight abstract concepts like poverty and ignorance. They even fight microscopic organisms they can't see. The council members exchange worried glances, which is quite a feat considering half of them don't have eyes. But here's the truly terrifying part. Blexen leans forward conspiratorially. They've started to win these fights. They've eliminated diseases that plagued them for millennia. They've learned to fly despite having no wings. They've even begun to reverse damage to their own planet's ecosystem. The chamber falls silent, except for the nervous clicking of chitinous appendages and the soft whimpering of a delegate who's clearly having an existential crisis. Therefore, Blexen declares, I propose we implement Protocol Omega-7, a preemptive containment action. Vorthak shifts uncomfortably. You mean, invasion? I'd prefer to think of it as aggressive urban planning. Blexen replies smoothly. We'll disable their communication networks, neutralize their leadership, and establish a protective quarantine around their system. For the greater good of galactic stability, you understand. The vote is unanimous, mostly because nobody wants to be the one to argue with a giant purple octopus having a power trip. As the council disperses to implement their brilliant plan, none of them stop to consider one tiny detail. If humans are really as chaotic and unpredictable as their reports suggest, maybe, just maybe, trying to invade them might not go exactly according to plan. Meanwhile, roughly 2.5 million light-years away, Jake Morrison is having what he considers a perfectly normal Tuesday morning. Which, considering Jake's line of work, involves floating in zero gravity while cursing at a malfunctioning deep space communication array that's apparently decided to start picking up what sounds like alien game shows. Come on, you piece of junk, Jake mutters, giving the satellite dish a percussive maintenance tap that would make any engineer weep. He's wearing a maintenance jumpsuit that's seen better decades, and has the general appearance of someone who's made peace with the fact that his job involves fixing things that shouldn't be broken in the first place. The array crackles to life, and for a moment Jake swears he hears what sounds like multiple voices arguing in a language that consists entirely of clicks and melodic humming. He shrugs, makes a note in his maintenance log that reads "fix the thingy that was doing the weird stuff," and moves on to the next repair. What Jake doesn't realize is that he just accidentally intercepted and jammed the primary reconnaissance frequency that 3 cloaked alien scout ships have been using to coordinate their surveillance of Earth's communication infrastructure. The aliens, now flying blind, crash into each other in spectacular fashion and have to limp back to the fleet for repairs. Down on Earth, Commander Rita Vasquez is running her morning briefing with the kind of military precision that makes drill sergeants weep tears of joy. She's the kind of officer who iron her uniforms so sharply they could cut paper and organizes her sock drawer by threat level. All right, people, Rita announces to her communications team, we've got reports of unusual electromagnetic interference in sectors 7 through 12. I want full spectrum analysis and pattern recognition protocols implemented immediately. Her subordinates nod and scramble to their stations, because when Commander Vasquez says jump, you ask how high, and in what formation. What Rita doesn't know is that the unusual electromagnetic interference is actually the alien fleet's attempts to map Earth's defensive capabilities. Her team's pattern recognition protocols are systematically identifying and cataloging every stealth frequency the aliens are using, effectively creating a real-time tracking system for the entire invasion force. The aliens, watching their supposedly covert operation get dissected in real time by what they assume is Earth's most advanced military intelligence, start panicking and switch to backup frequencies. Rita's team dutifully tracks those too, because that's what good soldiers do when their commander asks for full spectrum analysis. Excellent work, team, Rita says, reviewing the data. Whatever's causing this interference, we're getting a complete picture of its operational parameters. I'll file this under potential training scenarios for next quarter's readiness exercises. She makes a note to recommend her team for commendations, completely unaware that she's just orchestrated what the Alien Intelligence Division will later classify as the most thorough counter-surveillance operation in galactic history. Meanwhile, in a cluttered laboratory that looks like a coffee shop exploded inside an electronics store, Professor Eddie Kowalski is having an argument with his espresso machine. This is not unusual. Eddie argues with most of his equipment on a regular basis, which his colleagues have learned to ignore as part of his creative process. No, Eddie mutters, tapping the side of the machine. The extraction pressure is all wrong. We need 17 bars, not 15. How am I supposed to achieve proper crema consistency with substandard pressure? While Eddie wages war against his coffee maker, his experimental quantum communication array hums quietly in the background, doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Which is to say, it's scanning for anomalous subspace frequencies and logging them for later analysis. What Eddie doesn't realize is that his routine background scanning is systematically mapping the alien's entire communication network. Every time an alien ship sends a status report, coordinates an attack run, or even orders lunch, Eddie's machine dutifully records it, categorizes it, and files it away in a database that Eddie will probably never look at because he's too busy perfecting his coffee brewing technique. The aliens, watching their most secure channels get monitored by what appears to be Earth's most sophisticated signals intelligence operation, start implementing increasingly complex encryption protocols. Eddie's machine, which was designed to decode theoretical quantum fluctuations, treats their unbreakable codes like a warm-up exercise and cracks them faster than they can implement them. Finally, Eddie says as his espresso machine produces a perfect shot. He takes a sip, sighs contentedly, and glances at his quantum arrays display, which is now showing what looks like a complete organizational chart of the alien fleet's command structure. Huh? Eddie says, studying the display. That's a really interesting fractal pattern. I should probably publish a paper on naturally occurring hierarchical quantum structures, right after I finish this coffee. He makes a mental note to look into it later, completely missing the fact that he's just reverse-engineered the entire alien military hierarchy while waiting for his morning caffeine fix. And so, while the Galactic Council's invasion force prepares to face what they believe is a primitive and chaotic species, 3 humans go about their perfectly ordinary day, accidentally dismantling every aspect of the aliens' carefully planned operation without even realizing there's anything to dismantle. High Chancellor Blexen stands aboard the flagship of what he's dramatically named the Pacification Fleet, watching holographic displays that show Earth growing larger in their viewport. His tentacles quiver with anticipation as he addresses his command crew. Commence Operation Gentle Correction, he announces, because apparently even cosmic invasions need marketing-friendly names. Phase 1, deploy stealth reconnaissance drones to identify key infrastructure targets. The bridge crew, consisting of various aliens who all look like they were designed by committee, efficiently launch a swarm of invisible drones toward Earth. These drones represent the pinnacle of galactic stealth technology, capable of operating completely undetected by any known sensor array. Jake Morrison, currently floating near the communication array with a wrench in one hand and a sandwich in the other, notices that one of the satellite dishes is wobbling slightly in a way that's going to really annoy him if he doesn't fix it right now. Oh come on, Jake sighs, floating over to the dish. What's your problem now? He gives the dish his signature percussive maintenance adjustment, which involves hitting it with exactly the right amount of force in exactly the right spot. The dish snaps back into perfect alignment, and the array's targeting system immediately locks onto something that shouldn't be there. Huh, Jake says, watching his maintenance display. Looks like we've got some space debris clustered around the array. Better clear it out before it damages something important. He activates the array's automated debris clearing system, which fires a series of precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses designed to push small objects away from the satellite network. What Jake doesn't know is that these debris are actually 12 stealth drones, and his clearing system just fried their cloaking devices, navigation systems, and what the aliens call their vital essence preservation units. Which is a fancy way of saying Jake just turned 12 pieces of advanced alien technology into very expensive space junk. Back on the flagship, Blexen watches his drone telemetry display go from full operational status to catastrophic system failure in about 3 seconds. What just happened? He demands, his tentacles now flailing in distress. Sir, reports Commander Gex et al., a being that looks like a nervous filing cabinet, all reconnaissance drones have been neutralized. Neutralized? By what? Unknown, sir. The energy signature suggests some kind of advanced targeting system, but the attack pattern was unusual. Define unusual. Well, sir, it appears they identified our exact positions with pinpoint accuracy, then hit us with precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses that were perfectly tuned to disrupt our specific technology. It's as if they knew exactly what we were using and how to counter it. Blexen's tentacles go rigid. They were waiting for us. Meanwhile, Jake finishes his sandwich and makes another entry in his maintenance log. Cleared some junk away from the array, should work better now. Down on Earth, Rita is reviewing the morning's intelligence reports when her communications officer approaches with a puzzled expression. Commander, Lieutenant Park says, we're detecting some unusual activity in high orbit. Multiple objects appeared on our tracking systems for approximately 30 seconds, then disappeared entirely. Rita reviews the data with the kind of methodical precision that makes flowcharts weep with envy. Pattern analysis indicates coordinated movement in a reconnaissance formation. Altitude and trajectory suggest external origin. External origin, ma'am. Off-world, Rita clarifies, because she's the kind of officer who calls things what they are. Could be space debris, but the formation patterns suggest intelligence behind the movement. I'm classifying this as a potential training scenario. She turns to her communications team. I want full defensive protocols implemented immediately. Activate all early warning systems, establish communication with allied monitoring stations, and prepare our electronic countermeasures for deployment. Her team springs into action, because when Rita Vasquez says full defensive protocols, you don't ask questions, you just make it happen. What Rita doesn't realize is that her training scenario response just activated the most comprehensive planetary defense network in human history. Every radar installation, every satellite tracking system, every military communication array on the planet suddenly starts working in perfect coordination. The alien fleet, which had been planning to approach Earth under cover of stealth, suddenly finds itself lit up like a Christmas tree by tracking systems they didn't even know existed. Every ship, every fighter, every supply vessel is now tagged, categorized, and being tracked by what appears to be a defense network of impossible sophistication. Sir, Commander Gex et al. Reports, his filing cabinet-like exterior now rattling with panic. They've detected the entire fleet. How is that possible? Blexen demands, our stealth technology is perfect. We've tested it against every known sensor type in the galaxy. Unknown, sir. But they're not just detecting us, they're actively scanning us. We're reading targeting systems, communication intercepts, and what appears to be some kind of tactical analysis network. Back in his lab, Eddie is still working on his coffee situation when his quantum array starts making a noise he's never heard before. It's sort of a musical chiming sound, like wind chimes made of mathematics. That's new, Eddie says, walking over to investigate. His display is showing what looks like a three-dimensional map of local space, complete with moving dots that seem to be arranged in some kind of formation. Interesting, Eddie murmurs, taking a sip of his coffee. Looks like we're getting some kind of interference pattern. Multiple sources, all emitting on frequencies that shouldn't exist according to standard physics. He runs the data through his analysis program, which was designed to identify anomalies in quantum field fluctuations. Within minutes, the program has mapped the aliens' entire fleet composition, identified their propulsion systems, and reverse-engineered their communication protocols. Wow, Eddie says, genuinely impressed. This is either the most sophisticated hoax in history, or we're looking at actual faster-than-light technology. I should probably call someone about this. He reaches for his phone, then pauses. Actually, let me run a few more tests first. I want to make sure this is real before I sound like a complete lunatic. While Eddie runs his tests, his quantum array automatically begins transmitting the alien fleet data to every connected research institution on the planet. Within an hour, every university, government lab, and amateur radio operator on Earth has access to complete technical specifications for the entire invasion force. The aliens, watching their most classified technology get broadcast across Earth's communication networks, like the evening news, begin to suspect that maybe they've seriously underestimated their target. Sir, Commander Gex et al. Says, his voice now barely a whisper, recommend immediate withdrawal to minimum safe distance. Withdrawal. Blexen's tentacles writhe in indignation. We haven't even begun the actual invasion yet. Deploy the mind control transmitters. Sir, are you sure that's wise? They seem to be monitoring everything we do. Deploy them immediately. We'll show these humans the true power of advanced galactic technology. What happens next will go down in galactic history as the incident that shall not be named, but we'll get to that shortly. The mind control transmitters represent the absolute pinnacle of galactic psychological warfare technology. They're designed to emit specific frequencies that can influence the neural patterns of any carbon-based life form, effectively turning an entire planet's population into compliant subjects within hours. Blexen watches with satisfaction as his technicians deploy the transmitters in a perfect grid pattern around Earth. Excellent, he says. His tentacles performing what might charitably be called a victory dance. Once these are activated, the humans will become docile and manageable. They'll thank us for liberating them from their chaotic existence. The transmitters power up with a low harmonic hum that's supposed to be inaudible to human ears but perfectly calibrated to influence human brain chemistry. It's a work of art, really. Centuries of research into biological psychology distilled into pure technological dominance. Eddie Kowalski, still puzzling over his quantum array's unusual readings, hears what sounds like a low-frequency tone coming from somewhere outside his lab. Being a scientist, his first instinct is to investigate, so he grabs his portable spectrum analyzer and heads outside. That's weird, he mutters, watching the analyzer display spike at frequencies that shouldn't be possible. Looks like some kind of coordinated transmission pattern. Multiple sources, all perfectly synchronized. The tone is giving him a headache, so Eddie does what any reasonable person would do. He goes back to his lab and starts working on a solution. Within 20 minutes, he's cobbled together a noise-canceling system using his coffee maker's heating element, some spare quantum field generators, and a sound system he borrowed from the break room. Let's see how this works. Eddie says, activating his improvised counter-frequency generator. What Eddie doesn't realize is that his noise-canceling system is actually generating an inverse harmonic pattern that's perfectly calibrated to disrupt the alien mind control frequencies. Not only does it block the transmissions, it actually creates a feedback loop that overloads the alien equipment. Up in orbit, Commander Gextel watches in horror as his mind control transmitters begin exploding one by one. Sir, he reports, his voice now cracking with panic. The psychological warfare systems are experiencing catastrophic failure. What kind of failure? Blexen demands. They're exploding, sir. All of them. Something is generating an exact counter frequency that's causing harmonic resonance in our equipment. Blexen stares at the display showing his beautiful, expensive mind control network turning into space debris. How is that possible? Our frequency calculations were perfect. No primitive species should be able to counter them. Sir, Gextel says quietly. What if they're not primitive? Meanwhile, back on Earth, Rita is having the best day of her military career. What she thinks is an incredibly sophisticated training exercise is allowing her to demonstrate every aspect of tactical coordination she's learned in 20 years of service. All right, people, she announces to her expanded team, we've got multiple unknown contacts in high orbit, coordinated electromagnetic activity, and what appears to be some kind of transmission network. This is obviously a comprehensive readiness evaluation. Her communications officer raises his hand. Commander, some of these readings are unusual. The technology signatures don't match anything in our databases. Rita grins. Outstanding. Looks like Command is really pushing the envelope on this simulation. They're using theoretical technology profiles to test our adaptive response capabilities. She turns to her tactical display, which is now showing a real-time map of the alien fleet's movements. Look at this coordination, people. Whoever designed this exercise really knows their stuff. We're dealing with a simulated enemy that's using advanced stealth technology, coordinated attack patterns, and sophisticated electronic warfare capabilities. Her team nods appreciatively. They have to admit this is the most realistic training scenario they've ever encountered. All right, Rita continues. Let's show them what Earth's defense forces are capable of. I want active countermeasures against their electronic warfare, full spectrum jamming of their communication networks, and preparation for coordinated defensive action. What Rita doesn't realize is that her training exercise is actually implementing a defensive strategy that military theorists have been developing for decades. Every protocol she's activating, every countermeasure she's deploying, Every tactical response she's coordinating is based on real military doctrine designed to repel an actual invasion. The aliens, watching Earth's military forces respond to their presence with textbook precision and overwhelming coordination, begin to suspect they might be facing a trap. Sir, Commander Gextel reports, Earth's military forces are implementing what appears to be a comprehensive anti-invasion strategy. Their responses are perfectly coordinated, their countermeasures are precisely targeted, and their tactical deployment suggests they were prepared for our arrival. Blexen's tentacles droop with the weight of realization. They knew we were coming. It appears so, sir. Their response patterns suggest extensive preparation and planning. Back in space, Jake is having his own moment of realization. After spending the morning fixing various pieces of equipment that keep breaking in increasingly weird ways, he's starting to suspect that something unusual is happening. Okay, he says to himself. Floating near the communication array while reviewing his maintenance logs, satellite dish randomly wobbles and needs realignment. Check. Debris clearing system activates 3 times in one morning. Check. Communication array picks up signals that sound like alien game shows. Check. He pauses reading the last entry again. Wait, did I actually write that down? Jake pulls up the audio logs from his morning maintenance work and plays back the recordings. Sure enough, there are multiple instances of what sounds like organized communication in definitely non-human languages. Huh, Jake says with the kind of calm acceptance that comes from working in space for 15 years. Either I'm having a really weird day, or we've got company. He opens a communication channel to Earth's command center. Hey Control, this is Jake up at Station 7. I'm seeing some unusual activity up here. Might want to send someone to take a look. Copy that, Jake, comes the reply. We're tracking unusual activity as well. Maintain standard protocols and keep us informed. Standard protocols, Jake repeats, looking at his maintenance schedule. Okay, well, standard protocols say I'm supposed to optimize the communication array's defensive capabilities during my monthly maintenance cycle. Guess I'll do that now. Jake begins implementing what he thinks is routine maintenance but is actually activating military-grade defensive systems that were built into the communication array as a security precaution. Within an hour, his routine maintenance has turned the entire satellite network into a coordinated defensive grid, capable of tracking and targeting any object within 100,000 kilometers of Earth. The aliens, watching their invasion fleet get locked onto by what appears to be the most sophisticated targeting system in the galaxy, make a collective decision that will echo through the cosmos for generations to come. Sir, Commander Gextel says, his voice barely audible, recommend immediate withdrawal to maximum safe distance. Agreed. Blexen replies, his tentacles now hanging limp with defeat. Signal the fleet, we're pulling back. But the humans aren't done surprising them yet. The moment Jake opens that communication channel to Earth Control, something beautiful happens. Not beautiful in the way poets write about sunsets, but beautiful in the way engineers appreciate when multiple systems suddenly start working together perfectly without anyone planning it. Rita, monitoring all communication channels as part of her comprehensive training exercise, immediately picks up Jake's report. Excellent, she says, reviewing the data. We've got ground truth confirmation from our orbital assets. This simulation is even more detailed than I thought. She opens a conference call that includes Eddie's research facility, because any good military officer knows you need scientific analysis when dealing with unknown technology. Eddie, who's been having the most intellectually stimulating morning of his career, joins the call while simultaneously running 17 different analysis programs on his alien technology data. Professor Kowalski, Rita says with military crispness, we need your assessment of the unusual electromagnetic signatures we've been tracking. Oh those, Eddie says, taking a sip of what's probably his 8th cup of coffee today. Yeah, fascinating stuff. We're looking at technology that's at least 50 years ahead of our current capabilities. Faster than light communication, advanced materials science, energy systems that shouldn't be theoretically possible. Understood, Rita replies, because she's trained to accept intelligence reports even when they sound like science fiction. Jake, what's your tactical assessment from the orbital position? Jake, floating near his satellite array with a wrench in one hand and growing suspicion in his heart, looks at his displays. Well, Rita, I've got multiple contacts moving in coordinated patterns. They're definitely not natural phenomena, and they seem to be really interested in our communication infrastructure. Copy that. Sounds like we're dealing with a simulated invasion scenario, using theoretical technology profiles. There's a pause on the channel. Rita, Jake says slowly, what if it's not simulated? Eddie stops mid-sip. Oh my, that would actually explain a lot. Rita processes this for exactly 3 seconds, then does what good officers do when faced with potential threats. She adapts. Understood. Shifting from training protocols to active defense posture. Jake, can you maintain orbital overwatch? Already on it, Jake replies, activating every system he's been trained to use but hoped he'd never need. I've got full tracking on all contacts, and I'm bringing the defensive grid online. Excellent. Professor, we need real-time analysis of their capabilities and potential countermeasures. Way ahead of you, Eddie says, his fingers flying over his keyboard. I've been reverse engineering their technology all morning. Give me 5 minutes and I can give you a complete tactical assessment. What happens next is something the Galactic Council will spend centuries trying to understand. 3 humans, working together for the first time, accidentally implement the most devastating military strategy in galactic history. Jake, using systems he's maintained for years but never fully understood, turns Earth's communication network into a targeting grid that can track every object within half a light year. His routine maintenance protocols automatically share this targeting data with every connected military installation on the planet. Rita, treating this like the ultimate test of everything she's learned about coordinated defense, begins implementing strategies that military theorists have been developing since humans first looked at the stars and wondered what might be looking back. Every radar installation, every missile defense system, every military satellite suddenly starts working in perfect harmony. Eddie, running analysis programs designed to decode the fundamental laws of physics, cracks every encryption the aliens are using, and feeds their complete tactical information directly into Rita's command network. Within 30 minutes, Earth's defense forces know the exact position, course, speed, and tactical capabilities of every ship in the alien fleet. They know the aliens' communication frequencies, their command structure, their supply lines, and their operational doctrines. More importantly, they know exactly how to disrupt all of it. Professor, Rita says, your analysis indicates their ships use quantum field manipulation for propulsion. Can we interfere with that? Oh, absolutely, Eddie replies cheerfully. Their quantum field generators are actually quite elegant, but they're vulnerable to harmonic disruption. If we broadcast the right frequencies, we can destabilize their entire propulsion system. Jake, can our communication array generate those frequencies? Rita, this thing can generate any frequency you want. It was designed to communicate across interstellar distances. Broadcasting a few harmonic disruption patterns is basically what it does for fun. And so, with the casual efficiency of people doing a job they're trained for, the 3 humans implement what the aliens will later describe as the most terrifying display of coordinated technological warfare in recorded history. Jake activates harmonic disruption fields that shut down alien propulsion systems across the entire fleet. Rita coordinates targeting solutions that lock onto every alien vessel simultaneously. Eddie provides real-time tactical analysis that anticipates every move the aliens might make. Up in the alien flagship, Commander Gextel is experiencing what his species calls existential clarity, which is roughly equivalent to a human having a complete nervous breakdown while simultaneously achieving enlightenment. Sir, he reports, his voice now a barely audible whisper, they've disabled our propulsion systems, locked targeting solutions onto every ship in the fleet, and they're broadcasting on our secure command frequencies. What are they broadcasting? Blexen asks, though his tentacles suggest he doesn't really want to know. Sir, they're asking if we'd like to surrender. The communication comes through on the fleet's main channel, in perfect galactic standard, delivered in Rita's crisp military tone. Unknown fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. You are in violation of local space. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons systems, and prepare to be escorted out of our territory, or we will interpret your presence as hostile action and respond accordingly. Blexen stares at the communication panel. In all his years of military service, across dozens of successful pacification operations, no one has ever politely asked him to surrender before. Sir, Commander Gextel says, what are your orders? Blexen looks at his tactical display, which shows his entire fleet dead in space, surrounded by targeting solutions from weapons systems he didn't even know existed, facing an enemy that somehow knows more about his own technology than he does. Signal the fleet, he says quietly. We surrender. The surrender broadcast goes out on all frequencies, in 17 different galactic languages, with what can only be described as the most formal capitulation in the history of interstellar warfare. High Chancellor Blexen, a being who has personally overseen the pacification of 43 different star systems, officially surrenders his entire invasion fleet to 3 humans who still aren't entirely sure what just happened. Rita receives the surrender with the kind of professional composure that would make career diplomats weep with envy. Acknowledged alien fleet, power down all weapons systems and maintain current position. We will escort you to the edge of our solar system. She mutes her microphone and turns to her team. Outstanding work, people. This has been the most comprehensive training exercise I've ever participated in. The realism was incredible. I'm recommending everyone here for commendations. Her communications officer raises his hand tentatively. Commander, what if it wasn't actually a training exercise? Rita considers this for a moment. Even better. That means we just successfully repelled humanity's first alien invasion. Either way, it's going in everyone's permanent record as exemplary performance under pressure. Meanwhile, Jake is floating near his satellite array, looking at displays that show dozens of massive alien ships sitting motionless in space, apparently waiting for further instructions. Well, he says to himself, that's new. He opens a channel to Earth control. Hey Rita, what exactly do you want me to do with all these alien spaceships? They're just kind of sitting there. Standard escort protocols, Jake. Guide them to the edge of our solar system and make sure they leave our space. We have standard escort protocols for alien spaceships. We have standard protocols for everything, Jake. That's what makes us professionals. Jake shrugs, because Rita has never been wrong about military procedures, and begins broadcasting navigation coordinates to the alien fleet. What he doesn't realize is that his escort protocols are actually designed for guiding damaged ships to safety, which means he's essentially treating the most advanced military fleet in the galaxy like a group of lost tourists who need directions to the highway. The aliens, watching their mighty invasion force get shepherded out of the solar system by what appears to be a traffic controller with a wrench, experience what their philosophers will later term the Great Humbling. Back in his lab, Eddie is having the kind of scientific revelation that usually takes decades to process. His quantum analysis has revealed technology so advanced that it's going to revolutionize human understanding of physics, engineering, and probably philosophy. This is incredible, he mutters, reviewing data streams that show faster-than-light propulsion, matter manipulation, and energy systems that operate on principles he's never seen before. This is going to change everything. We'll need to rewrite half the textbooks in existence. He picks up his phone to call the university, then pauses. Actually, maybe I should finish analyzing this data first. I want to make sure I understand the implications before I call the Nobel Committee. Eddie returns to his analysis, completely missing the fact that he's just reverse-engineered technology that represents millions of years of galactic technological advancement, and he's treating it like an interesting homework problem. As the alien fleet begins its humiliating retreat from Earth's solar system, High Chancellor Blexen addresses his crew one final time. Fellow beings, he says, his tentacles drooping with defeat. Today we have learned a valuable lesson about the dangers of underestimating potential adversaries. The humans have demonstrated technological capabilities and tactical coordination that exceed our highest estimates. Commander Gextel nods grimly. Sir, should I prepare a full tactical assessment for the Galactic Council? Yes, Blexen replies. And make sure you emphasize the sophisticated nature of their defensive strategy. The way they coordinated their response, the precision of their countermeasures, the elegance of their technological solutions, it suggests a level of strategic planning that we completely failed to anticipate. What should I tell the Council about their military capabilities? Blexen considers this carefully. Tell them that human defensive systems are so advanced that they were able to disable our entire fleet without firing a single shot. Tell them that their intelligence-gathering capabilities allowed them to reverse-engineer our technology in real time. Tell them that their coordination was so perfect that 3 individuals were able to outmaneuver our entire invasion force. And their tactical doctrine, brilliant, Blexen says, with grudging admiration. They allowed us to approach, gathered complete intelligence on our capabilities, then neutralized us with minimum effort and maximum efficiency. They even offered us the opportunity to surrender before destroying us. It was elegant. The truth, of course, is somewhat different. Jake fixed some satellites. Rita treated everything like a training exercise, and Eddie was more interested in his coffee than conquering the galaxy. But the Galactic Council doesn't need to know that. As the alien fleet disappears into the depths of space, the 3 humans who accidentally saved humanity go back to their regular routines. Jake updates his maintenance log, weird day. Fixed some satellites, cleared out unusual debris, helped some lost spaceships find their way home. Note to self, ask about hazard pay for alien encounters. Rita files her after-action report. Participated in comprehensive training exercise involving simulated alien invasion scenario. Exercise demonstrated excellent coordination between orbital assets, ground-based command, and scientific analysis teams. Recommend expanding this type of multidisciplinary training. Also recommend determining whether exercise was actually simulated or not. Eddie makes a note in his research journal, discovered fascinating examples of advanced technology during routine quantum field analysis. Technology appears to be non-human in origin, suggesting either elaborate hoax or actual extraterrestrial contact. Should probably investigate further after coffee break. And so the first and last attempt to invade Earth ends not with explosions or dramatic speeches, but with 3 humans going back to work, completely unaware that they've just established humanity's reputation as the most terrifyingly competent species in the galaxy. The Galactic Council, upon receiving Blexen's report, immediately implements what they euphemistically call enhanced safety protocols around human space. These protocols include maintaining a minimum distance of 50 light-years from Earth, avoiding any action that might be interpreted as aggressive, and under no circumstances attempting to make contact with humans unless specifically invited. The official reason given to the galactic community is that humans represent an advanced species with sophisticated defensive capabilities and unpredictable tactical doctrines. The unofficial reason, whispered in the corridors of the Galactic Council chambers, is simpler. They're too dangerous to mess with. And the beautiful irony of it all is that humanity remains completely unaware of their newfound reputation as the galaxy's most feared military power. They continue going about their daily lives, fixing satellites, running training exercises, and analyzing interesting data, blissfully ignorant of the fact that they've accidentally established themselves as the species that every other civilization in the galaxy crosses the street to avoid. Which, when you think about it, is probably the most human way possible to win a war, by being so competently oblivious that the enemy surrenders rather than try to figure out what you're actually doing.